kind of. Hey, so good news is if you just showed up for the 10:30 service, you're not going to miss much because this is going to be pretty long. The bad news for you people that actually showed up at 10, well, get comfortable. So, I want you all just close your eyes real fast. So, you feel God tugging on your heart anyways to go overseas and do missionary work. And everything's coming together as it should, even though there's a lot of spiritual warfare going on, taking place. And you finally get to your first flight. You know there's some difficulties, and you load up, you start your flights, that journey over, and you finally land at your destination, and you can feel God's presence just there. And you do the mission work that you're called to do, and it's a great opportunity. Now, you can open your eyes, and that's exactly what you guys did for me. You know, I was the boots on the ground, but through all your prayers and reaching out through text, your financial support, you were there in that moment with me. And I thank you all for that. So this was my Kenya trip anyways. I took off July 26th and got back July 7th. And I also got a refreshing on how to make a PowerPoint since I was in high school. So it's not as good as the last one you just saw. That's the wrong way. So this is the trip, the guys that went. So I'm going to use this pointer maybe and just go through names. So this is Paul, Chris, Brian. Can you guys see that laser kind-of-ish? Adam, James Jr., Jeff, James Sr., Joe, Shane, Colton, Nathan, Becky, Carla. Don't know who that guy is. This is actually Jim Rao, so Jay Rao's brother who lives over there. This is Ben Cormanic, so he'd be kind of the guy who's in charge of the whole Kansas encounter. So remember this guy, I'll be referencing back to him quite a bit. This is his wife, Breer, Brandon, and Ollie. He's actually from Nicaragua, who joined us. So like I said, before I went over there, I got up here and shared my 3 confirmations, and you'll hear many of these. I believe God gives me just 3. They come in 3s anyways. So the first one was Ben Cormanic, who put it together. He mentioned it at our men's encounter, and that was our first and foremost mission, was to go and take men's encounter over to Kenya. And so he mentioned it at a couple encounters ago, and he named 2 names in that meeting that I was really familiar with. James Marunga, which I've known since childhood, and then Jim Rao, which, like I said, there's been some other people that have gone over there to do mission work with him. Second confirmation was just the spiritual warfare happening the weeks leading up. You know, I was losing cattle. They're just dying randomly. I about lost a semi to a fire, but like I said, you know, I could also feel God's presence in that time, and he prevented that fire from taking the semi. And then the Holy Spirit, Rick Piercy, who's a part of this church, he felt like the Lord was giving him a word that someone from the church or area was going to be going over to Africa. And he reached out to Cliff. He said, hey, do you know of anyone going? Because I have a lot of insight because I've been there before. And Cliff's like, no. And so it hadn't, I went and talked to Rick several times, and anyways, he's like, have you told Pastor? I said, no, I haven't yet. And so, anyways, it hadn't really hit Rick yet, but we went and told Pastor, and he's like, Rick, don't you see? You've been praying for this. You felt like the Holy Spirit was giving you this notion that someone was going to go. And then Rick's like, oh, wow, that's cool. So, yeah, that would be the third confirmation that I was supposed to go. So this is actually, we flew out of Manhattan, but this is not Manhattan Airport. This is me. This is actually in New York here. And this is the rest of the group that I was supposed to fly with. They're in London here. So, yeah. So this was supposed to be our itinerary to go over. But through all that, I was supposed to leave Manhattan at 2:30 p.m. on the 26th. But there ended up being, it was like 8:30 before I left anyways. The other group, because they were loading up on the 6:30 flight, and I thought I was loading up as well. And so they're like, hey, what's your luggage look like? And I was like, I don't know, it has a purple ribbon on it and stuff. And I'm like, why? And they wouldn't ever tell me until I saw my luggage being rolled out of the plane and back to the airport. And they're like, well, you didn't make the flight. And so there was 10 of us that flew out of Manhattan, and there was only 9 seats in that flight. So I was able to fly by myself, I guess. It was an experience. But so anyways, I got to Chicago from Manhattan. That was an 8-hour layover. And with all the confusion and flight changes, they're like, hey, we're going to give you a free motel to stay at and stuff. And I said, okay. And so I land, and I'm starting to make phone calls to all these different motels, see if they have availability and stuff. And I finally, one's like, yeah, which, being in Chicago, she's foreign, so it's really hard to understand her. And she's like, yeah, I go downstairs to 2B, and shuttle will be there to pick you up. Okay, thanks, bye. And so I go down to 2B and waiting on a shuttle. The shuttle shows up, and I'm getting ready to load up, and he's like, all right, what's your confirmation code? And I was like, what confirmation code? And they're like, yeah, on the email, you should have clicked it. And I was like, I did not do any clicking anyways. And so anyways, he's like, well, I can't do anything for you. We're booked up. See ya. So this was 6 hours left until my plane took off now. And I was like, I'm just going to get checked back in and sleep on the Chicago airport floor that night. And so that's exactly what I did. I slept with one eye open because I didn't want all my luggage to disappear while I was sleeping. So it wasn't very good sleep that night. So anyways, load up, fly to New York. I was only a 2-hour layover. Anyways, get on that flight, and this is the big 14-hour flight from New York to Nairobi, and everyone's loaded up, so there's probably 300 plus people on this plane, and they're like, hey, the captain gets online, the intercom, and said, hey, we're having some air conditioning problems. We're going to go to the tarmac, and the mechanics are going to come out there and work on it. And so that's what they do, because they're like, we done load you, but there's another plane coming in, and they need this gate. And so anyways, we back off the tarmac, or go onto the tarmac, and they're working on the air conditioning. Like I said, they said it was going to be a quick fix. It was definitely not. So they have to turn the airplane down completely. They open up the doors to let a little airflow. It's high 80s in New York there that day. And so it's kind of toasty, packed about this tight in a plane. And so anyways, before our 14-hour flight, we actually sat on that plane with no air conditioning for 3 hours. So they were really getting our BO and sweat going before the 14-hour flight. So, yeah. So flew to Nairobi. Like I said, I got to Nairobi, and I thought someone was going to pick me up there. I'm sorry. So anyways, I landed. I get my gear. I change currency to shillings and all that stuff, and I'm ready to go. I'm standing on the curb, and I think there'd be someone I know to pick me up, or they say a sign like Luke. None of that happened. I got I'm the only white guy there. Like I said, I'm on the curb, and I can there's military men standing there with AK-47 strapped to their side, and I'm like, I don't know if you're good or bad, but I'm not going to find out right now. So anyways, I don't have service, and I can just see like all these people just staring at me, and like, can we take advantage of this guy? And so anyways, I'm praying. This is where I really feel your guys' prayers, because I go to the Lord in prayer, and like, he just sends me comfort in that situation. And so I decided to turn off my phone to see if it'd reboot, get service, and it does. So I finally call Ben. I said, hey, who's picking me up? He's like, well, I'm really glad you called, because I got you a plane booked, but it's like leaving in less than 30 minutes, and you have to run clear across the airport. I'm like, and because I'm on the international side, and it's the domestic side. So anyways, I grab all my gear, start running over there, and the phone communication wasn't very clear. And all I heard was, go to Jambo Jet and show them your passport. They'll know what to do. So anyways, I go there, and I show them. I say, I don't know what plane I'm on. And she goes, oh, you're on that plane. I was like, yeah. She's like, it's leaving in like 20 minutes. And so anyways, go through the security check-in. There's like it's just me and then one other family in front of me. I was like, oh, this will be a breeze, 8, 10 people. Yeah. Well, this family had never flown before. And so they were going through the security drill, and it's beeping at them, and they're forgetting pens and paper clips and wallets and watches. And like, you could just see every tray had one item going through the security. I'm like, what? It took 15 minutes for that family to go through the security. And so like, I have 5 minutes left. And I didn't want to ask to go in front of them, because like I said, I don't know how good English they speak or any of that. And I didn't want to make a scene and get thrown into jail because I made a scene. So I patiently prayed to get through that. And so got through that. Luckily, the terminal gate wasn't far, and got on that, shut the door, and like 20 seconds later, they shut the door behind me. Is kind of crazy, wild. Like, the enemy definitely didn't want me to be there, but I could feel God he lined everything up so it just fit perfectly. So this was actually me going to that last plane, so they got live footage of it somehow. So I finally got on that last plane from Nairobi to Kisumu, and I was just able to sit there and relax finally. And as I actually was sitting down, and I was like, oh man, my left knee's really hurting. I could feel it's swollen and just in a lot of pain. And so I actually put some anointing oil on my hand and prayed over it. And just like that, it just completely healed. like just crazy, but good, you know. And so a lot of you know, I actually, and this doesn't really have a whole lot to do with a mission trip, but I just started a new business anyways called Infinity. And I saw this lady's tattoo, and this is going to be a confirmation of 3 again. So I saw this lady's tattoo. Another crazy story, I was not supposed to be in that seat. I was actually supposed to be on the other side of her, so I wouldn't have seen this. But just how God works things out. So I saw that, which is the infinity sign. And then the second confirmation, I looked down at my hat, which is sitting on my knee, and I've seen this pioneer symbol hundreds, if not thousands of times, and it just hit me like a rock. Yeah. So the third confirmation, like I said, I'm not like going out looking for these confirmations. God just like highlights them. And so this was like 3 days later. We're sitting in James Moronga's house, and on the back of the couch, and the footrest holding up the couch, yeah, I don't make this stuff up. So I just really feel like God's going to bless me in that business that I've started. And like I said, you know, if you say yes to doing something, He'll just provide for you. It's so fun walking in the Spirit. So this was just the last at Kimasomo Airport. This is really hard picture, but these are kids standing along a fence line, and that's actually their field trip day, because when I unloaded, they're coming in, watching airplanes take off and fly away. And so I got out of the airport, and they're all loading back up on buses. Like, that is literally their field trip of coming and watching airplanes take off and land. So this is Jim on the left, and then Zephaniah on the right. They're the two that picked me up. The first faces like I somewhat knew, and so I had to give him a huge hug. This is at the equator, actually. So this was the first goodies that I was able to eat, just the fruit juice, and then a meringue. Yes. It is awesome. So many of you saw this picture anyways. This is just me and James, who I'd known from when I was a child through Rick. So this is my room that I stayed in, the mosquito net you can see over the bed. That is not my robe. That's for any guests wanting to use it. So I don't know. I didn't think that was that common. But and then this is the shower. So it had its own mind of its own. So this white deal, you kick it on. It gets scorching hot in like 30 seconds. So you have to turn it on, shower, step in, shower, and then when it gets too hot, shut it off, step out, and then when it's cooling down, step back in. So it's a long showering process, but I was thankful for hot water. So this is the venue where we're going to set up here for the men's encounter. This was just the road we were all walking down, and then we're going to set up tents here. So this is the before and after picture of the sleeping arrangement. Sorry if I'm in your way. So if you'd ever been to men's or women's encounter and you've complained about the sleeping conditions, be thankful. We just stuffed as many bunk beds in that room as possible. This is just the Kenyan driving. They drive on the wrong side of the road. And I don't know, I can't even explain it, but people crossing in and out, people diving in with traffic. Yeah, so this was another picture of the group at the venue. So that first day when we get there, we actually do an entrepreneurship meeting. There's just a few of us that spoke about our own businesses back home, and I really encouraged them. And like I said, Kenyan time is different. So we started with 15 people, and by the end of it, which is only like a 3-hour deal, we probably had triple that, so there's probably 45 people or so. So they just kind of come in as they want, or it falls into their schedule. Like I said, I really push being a cooperative and working together in that area. The Muslims have really moved in, and so they're just trying to find out, my advice was, as followers of Christ, support each other, give each other business, and then, make essentially a community of it. So later that night, we all split up into 4 different groups and went to all these different houses and had house praise and worship music, and then we dove into the Word together. And then they always feed you as well. So this was another house church here that another group attended. And then one of the groups actually was given this gift, a live chicken, which is very encouraging to all of us. So we just weren't sure what to do with it. The next day we go to this avocado farm. So here's just a few pictures of this. They're actually wanting to start the cooperative system off this avocado farm, and so there's just some people that stay here. They don't have mowers. As you can see, there's a few cattle just graze in the grass. Some more barns. I don't know, who thought bananas grew like that? I always thought they pointed down, but that was kind of fascinating. Anyways. Oh, there we go. So on the left here is coffee plants, and then right there, that would be a new avocado tree that they're planting. So this was church service. That little girl stole my heart. So this is Jim here, and then Zephaniah. This is their church that they're preaching out. And we won't listen to all of it. He is speaking English. It's really hard, but another comment is they each have interpreters, so they actually speak Swahili as their language, and then they do speak English as their second language, but we're so strong English, it's still hard for them to understand. They love to dance. You'll see more videos of this. Oh, so yeah, this next video is actually a prophecy that Jim gave over us, and come to find out is over me. So he asked if anyone had a Ford tractor on their farm, and me and Shane went up because we both have Ford tractors. And then he went on to say, well, the front wheel's been broken off, and since then it's been replaced. And a year ago, that Ford tractor, the front wheel was broke off, and then we replaced it. And so He was just saying, there's a fire inside of you, and you can't quench the Spirit kind of deal. So, and I can send this PowerPoint through the church email, I'm sure, if you guys want to spend more time looking at pictures, but I'm going to be long on time. So this is just a little barn outside the church. That's a little baby calf with a little baby goat standing on top of it. So after that church service, they had this solar pump well that wasn't working. And so it just turned out to be an electrical issue, but we went down and got it working. And so, that's their supply of water there. So the church and the orphanage are kind of together. There's a lot of children that are standing and watching as well as we fix it. This is just some more pictures. They're actually getting ready to build a school right over here, and so we're able to pray over that land that they're going to build that school on. So they really loved my sunglasses. In fact, I had to leave, and I left them with this one. So as you can see, he just stole them from this guy, so has them on backwards, upside down. They wanted to do a photo shoot anyways. So this is Anton. That's the one I probably grew closest with anyways. But yeah, they thought they were models or something, so they love pictures. These two, I don't know. That's a model pose right there, I'd say, with the cross leg. And then this was just actually me. I was just showing them pictures of where I came from, our farm and stuff. And so they love pictures. So this is gas price, and you're probably thinking, oh man, $187 a gallon. Well, it converts to $1 US is 124 shillings. So that top price is like $1.51, and that'd be like per liter. So they go by liters. So James, this would be James's sister Janet. On the left here, and then his mother, Hannah, on the right, that I got to meet for the first time and communicate with. This was after a dinner we had one evening. And at James's house, that's where they hosted us, and so every night they prepared food for us. This was just the preparation for the upcoming encounter. Same picture, different room this time. So yeah, they were shoving in beds in anywhere they could think of. And so this was like actually an old barn with a tin roof, and it was steamy in there. And then not only that, but that is not any ordinary light. That is a heat lamp. So they're just double cooking in there. And then right here, I saw these 3 car engines, and they're just shoved right over there in that corner there. So like literally, this was a jack of all trades building, I guess. So just some tents anyways in the preparation, getting ready for the men's encounter. Crosses being built. And this was the server meeting anyways that took place. So we had 18 total that went with us from the U.S., but 3 of those were women, and so 15 servers from the U.S., and then they had 18 people that volunteered to serve alongside us. So this is just right before, a couple hours before the men's encounter, just going through some nuts and bolts and just making sure everyone's on the same page. I will say, like, we went over there to teach, and they taught us so much, you know. Just the way they pray and worship, it's incredible. So this was just the first night. Like I said, there's quite a few empty chairs. So we ended up, the first night, I'm guessing there was, I don't know, 60 people maybe that were there. And like I said, they're on their own time schedule. And so by the end of encounter, I mean, we did it a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And like I said, we started with probably 65, 70. And by the end of it, we had 215 men there. So like they were coming in Saturday night and the last day even. But once they catch word of something, they just all pile in. So the next slide is going to be a video at Men's Encounter. We have these 2 crosses and hammer and nails, and we tell them to take it to the cross, and all the baggage, the junk, the sin, whatnot. And so for most of us, or for all of us servers who have been, like, this is a beautiful sound anyways. So another thing too, that first night, I can't share the entire detail because some of you haven't been to Encounter, and it's a surprise. But before those men showed up, we went around and prayed for the entire campground. And then this other thing we do, like I said, if you've been to Encounter, you probably have an idea what took place. But through that, we prayed for the supplies we used that first night. And we, in doing that example like Christ did, we saw 3 physical healings, like feet being restored, bodies being restored. It was incredible, but I really feel like that's because we prayed over the supplies in the venue area. So this is Joe and Paul just giving their teachings. Ben and James. As you can see, they're starting to fill up the chairs a little bit more. So we, the first session or 2, we actually brought over American music, American Christian music, and we got a whole lot of this. And like it all hit us all at the same time, like, yeah, we need to change this up. And so we actually had a band in place, and we were going to do like every other song kind of deal. Theirs, ours, theirs, ours. And we're like, you take the show. Like we saw one of this, and we're like, that's all you guys. This is actually right before communion, the second night. And then I think there's some people doing the worm maybe. So, like they're really getting after it. So, really hard picture to show, but all these are area pastors that are standing up there. I'm guessing there's, 30 or 40. So it's for anyone and everyone, God speaks to you, if you just say yes. This is just Jim Rao. So this was one that crosses anyways. This was the before and after picture, and there's actually a second cross on the other side. This was just one of them, of how much junk and sin all those men nailed to the cross and left there for Christ to take. They're tired of carrying the burdens of that shame and sin. So we, through your financial support too, we were able to fill these bags and give like flour, sugar, disinfectant wipes, rice, all sorts of goodies to the men that attended the encounter there. So this is just a video. I never noticed that till just then, but there's actually children in the background singing. Just another picture of Ben and I and some attendees. This is Zephaniah. He's the one that was one of them that picked me up at the airport. And then Peter, he was part of the sound booth team. John and Daniel. This is the meal line going through at Encounter. Just an example of food. Anyways, rice, cabbage. Those are meatballs, fish, and then I guess mashed potatoes. I don't know. You don't always know what you're eating there, so you just have to have a smile on your face and say, yeah, good. These were pretty good. They're just like fried bread with kind of like a burek in a way, but sausage, and then this was a banana nut bread. So they always had pop available as well. And then bottled water was always important, that you drank the bottled water and nothing like fresh out of the tap. This is just a picture of the only restaurant we ate at while we were over there. Like I said, James and his crew always provided the meals for us. So this was probably the highlight of my entire time over there. So Heron, which is the one sitting down there, so it's not one to stay. So Heron, we always gathered in this room each and every night, and we just prayed for whatever that night. And so this was the last night we were there. And Heron, I noticed that he had a limp, while he was walking. And I thought it was his right knee. Well, in this time, we were actually praying, and all of a sudden, my left knee started hurting again. I was like, that's strange, just randomly. And I was like, I'm just going to let it play out, see what God has in this situation. And so, like I said, I believe in 3 confirmations. And so, go back, there we go. So the first confirmation was my left knee was hurt, and the second confirmation was Adam right here. He prayed something about walking. And at this time, I knew what God was about to do. And so, anyways, I actually run back up to my room where I was staying, and I got my anointing oil and came back down and was just listening for that third confirmation because, like I said, I knew it was going to happen. And then Jeff right here, standing beside him, he actually prayed Mark 11:24. It says, I tell you, you pray for anything, and if you believe, that you'll receive it. That was my third confirmation. So at that time, I knew Heron was going to be healed through God's power. And so I stop everyone from praying, and I say, Heron, you should get up and walk. And he's like looking at me like, what's going on? I said, just get up and walk. And so sure enough, like I said, I thought it was his right leg, and sure enough, it was his left leg that he was limping on. And so anyways, I say, would you like to be healed tonight? And he said, absolutely. And so I anoint the other 5 or 6 guys that are with us with the oil, and then we actually pray for Heron for healing. And my hand's on his leg, and I can feel God's power and movement in his leg as we're praying, like him moving bones and ligaments, muscles, whatever. And we get done praying, and he's like, man, did you feel that? I said, yeah, I felt it. Did you feel it? He said, yeah, I did. And so I say, all right, well, get up and walk. And sure enough, like, there is no more pain, no more suffering, like no limp that he had. And it was just incredible. And I just got a text from him the other day. He said, thank you for praying for me. It's because of God that I'm healed, and I'm a walking testimony that I can share to others. And so that was incredible. So like I said, there's more to the story. So Heron was healed. And then Chris right here, his back was hurting before we prayed. And, oh man. Yeah, so anyways, we get done praying, and he's like, my back doesn't hurt anymore. And so that was the second healing anyways. And then the third healing, actually right here, Adam. We didn't know it until the next day, but like I said, this was our last day staying here. And he's packing up, and he's lifting his luggage, and he's like, I was supposed to have surgery on that shoulder, and he's completely healed. So once again, you know, it's just praying and asking and receiving, and like I said, this was just children in the streets. They were just looking at their shadows on the side of the van. Also, like, I don't know, just love, but you'd be walking down the street, and these little kids would just come run up beside you, grab your hand, and just walk beside you for a block or two, and then go kick the ball around or whatnot. Is really cool. So this is the equator. I don't know if any of you remember from like junior high science class, but the toilet bowl effect. Yeah. So on this side, you know, it turned one way, and then on this side it turned the other way. So we got to see that. This is not the toilet bowl effect. This is actually a urinal. So this is Lake Victoria that we stopped and looked at. And while we were there, we had some guys that had never seen water. They don't know how to swim. And they're like, oh man, it just feels or smells so fresh here. And I'm thinking, I don't think so. Because, I mean, that's the thing. They don't have any, trash service. And so all these people, whatever trash they have, they just take behind their house and light a match to it. And it just goes up into smog. And you can kind of see that smog, just over the city. And, but yeah, this is a next picture, just like the trash that's laying around the lake. And so it just, yeah. So these are just buildings. This is actually a tea farm here. There's workers out in the field doing the work here. This road looks pretty good. There's potholes all over it. The canyon driving is crazy. So this is a picture of the tea plant. That's really pretty similar to like soybean plants. I mean, they're about 3.5, 4 foot tall. This is actually a tea picker going in the field. So you move from one side of the mountain to the next, and like really lush green to like desert almost, like no rainfall. Just some pictures. Me being the farmer, I saw those grain bins and I was like, oh, that's cool, and had to take a picture of that. That's just clotheslines there. So this gives you a little example of where we were at. And then this is James, Maria, his wife, Chris, and James Jr., and me. We're on our way to the Messiah. This is one area where I'm really good at, So we actually had 3 flat tires on that trip, and so I was able to help in this situation. And along the way, I met a new friend. He was alongside the road. He's a shepherd. You can see his little stick, wand, whatever. He didn't understand me, and I didn't understand him, obviously, but he had no English in him. This is just me at the Messiah. And that I was actually sick there, so not a great picture. So this is, we get back from the Messiah, and just doing some shopping, and we all got like an uneasy feeling in this building here. And we didn't know we knew what it was, but so anyways, we let me go back. I'll show. So this next video, it's me. So they see white men as wealthy, and so their price might start here, but they see a white guy and like it goes up 3 times. And so this next video is actually me negotiating the price.
Do you know how to draw it?
I don't need to know the drawer.
Why?
I ain't using it.
Oh, you want to put it in the house as an antique?
Yes. So the next day, or that night, I actually have a dream, and this is just the spiritual warfare that takes place. But I was in that scene, I was in that building, and like I said, we all had an uneasy feeling. And so in my dream, I was talking to that guy who was selling me the spear, and I just like collapsed to the ground, and he starts dragging me off into the darkness. And like I'm wanting to say something, I can't. I feel like this pressure on my chest, and it's getting harder to breathe. And finally, I'm able to say Jesus, and just like that, the dream goes away, and I wake up. And it's just the spiritual warfare that takes place. So you have to armor up each and every day, and he's going to attack you in places you least expect it. So this is at the Messiah. Giraffes, monkeys. This is where we stayed. This is really close to the Tanzanian border, which we actually crossed illegally. So giraffes. This is just a shepherd moving his cattle. So wild beasts. Lion. Huh. Yeah. So this is actually what a leopard killed, and he drug it up into the tree and saving it for later to come back to eat. So these are elephants on the left. And we got really close to a lot of these animals, as you'll be able to see. Cheetah, Pumbaa. Oh. So this is a lion and lioness. And then this next video, I thought I was actually taking a picture, but I was still in video mode. So just that, like, we were really close, like right outside the vehicle. Yeah, pretty incredible. And then we just saw these lions, and then we were like, hey, let's have lunch out here. Some hippos. So this is the Tanzanian border. So Adam right here is actually an illegal immigrant. We all cross, so. Crocodile here, hard to see. This is just kind of the views of the Messiah. More giraffes. Camels out there. Shepherd just moving his herd to the next area to graze. And this is the roadblocks, so they just don't put up a sign, and say don't enter. They take the time and put all these rocks in the road. Man. So this was just a picture of when we flew back to London. So like I said, Nairobi is down here, so we were right in here, and then we flew back to London. So I think that's like a 8-hour flight. And then that's the picture anyways of the group. So yeah, it was an incredible trip. I loved every moment, and I hope I can go back again, maybe take some of you anyways, just to experience a different culture. And that's the thing too, I never had the want to go to do overseas missionary work, and I was like, man, there's so much missionary work right here. And that is true. Once we walk out these doors, it's right there. That's the mission field. And so, but like I said, I felt a calling from God that I was supposed to take that extra leap of faith and go overseas and do that. So I think that's all I have right now. If you have any questions or whatever, I'll be around, available. There's a lot more stuff that happened that I wasn't able to share, but just being short on time, I needed to push through it. So I also would like, if it's all right, I'll just be down here during the last worship song. Josh and Cliff will also be back there if you're wanting prayer. But I'd like to, anyone who like to be anointed with oil and just prayed a blessing over, I'd definitely love to do that for each and every one of you. So if you feel led or if you don't feel comfortable coming back here, we can do it after service too. But yeah, I'd love to do that. But with that being said, I'm going to give the closing prayer, and we'll sing along on the last worship song. So, dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this time together and just the mission you have in each and every one of our hearts. They may look different. They are going to be different. But I just pray and ask that you guide and direct each and every one of us, that we hear your voice, that our ears are open to receive your calling that you have for us, Lord. And so just thank you for everything you've done in our lives and everything you're going to continue to do in each and every one of us. So I just also pray that we armor up each and every day as the enemy's attacks are going to continue to come, that we know to turn to you wherever we are at in life. And so thank you once again, and just we love you and give you all the praise and glory and honor. In Jesus' name, amen.